Hello. Can people hear me at least? Like people can hear me, Rashid. Maybe there's some audio issue on your computer, because sometimes when you plug in the microphone, you have to go to the sound settings and pick the specific source, which gets complicated. And like every day I have to do it on my computer for some reason. Yeah, give that a try.
Yes.
Yes, there you are. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Brian. It's not us. Listen, I want to make sure. I wanted to make sure that I'm in a little garage area of the martial arts academy. I know it's not me. I know it's not the show or whatever. But Brian, let's get right to it before they start messing with the show again. Let's just jump right into it. What do you think about the theatrics of the Alaska meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump? And why do you think that this hurried meeting was put together?
Well, if people are following what's taking place on the battlefield, Ukrainian lines are collapsing at an increased rate, and this is what we've all been talking about for years now. The strategy of attrition Russia was using, it wasn't to break through and seize territory, it was to grind down Ukraine's military capabilities, but also the collective West's material resources. And that is what they have achieved. And now there is this collapse taking place. This summit was rushed. The US wants to play its games. Russia wants to play its games. It wants to give the US some way to save face, give them an exit so they don't feel cornered and do something ridiculous. I think the US is probably going to do that anyway. And we've been talking about what they will plan to do. And the US wants to pretend that it wants diplomacy. It wants peace, but it's those terrible Europeans and Ukrainians that are not going to listen to the US, even though the US installed all of these client regimes into power and completely controls everything that they do. And despite US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth saying back in February, we are going to freeze this because we need to go confront China, and we're going to freeze it by sending European troops into, we're going to force a ceasefire, and we're going to send European troops into Ukraine so that Russia cannot move any further west. That is what this is all about. That's what they're still putting into place and preparing for. And Russia is doing what it can to frustrate and overturn these plans.
So, do you think that Russia will play into the hands of this desperation by the United States? Because it seems like to me, to accept any terms from the United States right now is snatching defeat out of the jaws of, because even Lavrov said that the United States is agreement incapable. So why would Russia go along with this? And do you think that it is politically acceptable by Vladimir Putin to bring the violence to a cessation because of all of the Russian blood that has been spilled because of the West?
I would hope that Russia wouldn't fall for this, and that if they did agree to any sort of ceasefire, it's because they believe that they can make better use of whatever pause takes place than the collective West can, and that they will do this in coordination with their allies, and that it'll free up. Now the volume sounds very high on that end. We were still working through some technical issues. Okay. because I can hear some kind of interference on this side. Oh, the fan. Maybe it's the fan behind you. Yes. And that's an issue that we have here in Thailand. Also, the fan. That's why really good air conditioning is really required, and sometimes even that doesn't help. Okay, so yes, that sounds much better. That sounds much better, Rashid.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So.
All right, there you are, Brian. I'm in this little closet in the martial arts academy, so I'm sorry, and it's hot up here. So go ahead, Brian.
It's all right. It's all right. If you gotta get some water, get some water. Also, so this is, I don't think Russia is going to fall for this. I even believe for Minsk 1 and Minsk 2, even though Russia said that they fell for it, I kind of feel that they weren't ready for the special military. They knew they had to do it, but they weren't ready for it. They needed time. And that's what they did. They created time by agreeing to that. They were building up their military. If they honestly thought that the US and Europe wanted peace, why were they investing so heavily in building up their military? And so I think there is an element, a repeat of this all taking place. If Russia is very confident that they can achieve everything on the battlefield, then I think they will try to continue. People have to remember, whatever is agreed, whatever is rumored to be happening right now, just think back a couple of weeks when the US was doing this with Iran and everyone was saying, Brian, you're wrong. Trump wants peace with Iran. It's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, it's going to be the Israelis who ruined it. When that was the plan all along, was for the U.S. to pretend it wanted peace with Iran, lull them into a false sense of security. They prepared the Israelis months, if not a year or more ahead, to carry out a decapitation strike against Iran. And as soon as the war started, the U.S. waded into it, just like their Brookings paper, Which Path to Persia, spelled out all the way back in 2009. They implemented that plan verbatim, step by step, every single detail implemented and carried out. And so that is what we watched there, and that is what we are watching here. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said, we got to freeze the conflict in Ukraine. They're not interested in peace. If you look at the details of what he was proposing, it is essentially Minsk 3.0. The question is Russia able to frustrate that, or are they able to take advantage of that? And only time is going to tell.
Well, it looks like, to me, the U.S. is willing to play any cards just to buy time, Brian. You and I, we constantly say this over and over again. But what's kind of disappointing about it is that a lot of the alternative media, they're buying into that Trump wants to extricate the United States. Me, I don't believe that the United States wants to extricate itself from the war labor so that they can then refocus their guns on Iran and then move towards an ultimate battle with China, because time is running out, and the longer that they are preoccupied with Russia, the less time that they have to prepare for war with China. And they're using a lot of their weapons and ammunition that they would have in a battle against Iran or China. So I think it's they're trying to buy for time, a sue for peace, quote unquote, and play for time so that after they're done, they can double back on Russia, because they believe that they weaken Russia a little bit and after the Chinese conflict, and then deal with Russia. What do you say about that?
Yeah, this is exactly what they're doing. They've said that is what they're doing. I remember during the campaign for president, J.D. Vance, before becoming vice president, he said, we need these weapons for China, not Ukraine. We're going to freeze the conflict in Ukraine, dump it onto the Europeans, and we're going to go and fight China. Why are you fighting China? China is not a threat to the U.S. Russia is not a threat to the United States. Why are you pursuing this type of foreign policy? Because nothing has fundamentally changed. It is the U.S. pursuing hegemony, as is the neocon agenda. And all of these political parties are different manifestations of neoconservatism. People try to suggest that President Trump is being influenced by the neocons. He is a neocon. He has surrounded himself deliberately with neocons. He always has. He is right now, and he will continue doing so. You don't try to fight the neocons by filling your cabinet up to the top with them. That's what he did, and that's what his own policies represent. The problem is, and the reason people fall for this, and you've touched on this many times, Rashid, people don't want to face the harsh reality that no, the U.S. is not going to change course, that this is going to have to be resolved. It's going to have to be settled, not just on the battlefield in Ukraine, but it's going to have to be settled in the Asia Pacific. It's being settled in the Middle East. It's going to take a lot of hard work and sacrifice. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be pretty. And it's not even a certain thing unless we all put in the efforts and take the time to achieve this, to achieve the emergence of multipolarism. That's a very tough pill for many to swallow. They just rather believe I can just vote once every 4 years and magically someone will come along and fix everything for me. It's human nature, but it's not realistic. And how many times, even in our own personal lives, we know people whose nature overrides their ability to reason and think clearly, and we could see the cliffs people throw themselves off of in daily life, and entire nations and even empires throughout history have done the exact same thing.
And with that said, you hear a lot of pundits, because I've been with the little free time that I've had here and there, they are always putting the blame on administration officials and extricating or moving the blame off of Trump as if he is being forced into doing whatever he's doing, but he really wants to sue for peace. But everything, if we look to his first administration, it was him who doubled the funding for the training and for the armaments for Ukraine, because he says this is Biden's war. And it was he who helped formulate some of the strategy for what is going on right now. And it's a continuation of that, because as the president, as he says, that he makes the decision, he could, with the swipe of a pen, he could have ended all of Biden's military aid to Ukraine. And yet the United States still funding the government. They're still funding the military. They're still funding almost the whole of the Ukrainian budget, the retirees and everything. And yet at home, the so-called patriots that they claim to support are getting their pensions cut. They're messing with the budget a little bit to come up with some type of money. We see a cat trying to come through the window here, but they're doing everything that they possibly can to get more money for war, and they are only in words stating that the reality they are cutting the programs for the like retirees out of the military and all of the veterans. Why is nobody bringing this up? Because this is a big deal. I've been watching this for the longest. They're prioritizing war, and they're prioritizing Ukraine over the very people that they claim to support, and they're always making a big hurrah about being a patriot and stuff. And yet at home, they're spitting the face of the veterans.
Yes, absolutely. And so it really is continuity of agenda. You saw Barack Obama, President Obama, begin the pivot to Asia. He He took all the Bush-era wars. He swore he was going to end them. He expanded all of them. He started wars that President Bush wanted to start but ran out of time to start. It was all handed on over to President Trump. Just like you say, President Trump, under his first administration, he was killing Iranian senior military leaders. He was pushing for war with Iran. It was Iranian restraint that prevented that from starting back then. He started arming Ukraine. He still brags about arming Ukraine. He, just like you say, continued training and reorganizing the Ukrainian military. And then comes Biden. He takes all of everything that Trump did and he starts building on it. They provoke this war in Ukraine. It's running its course, and President Trump swears he's going to end it, but he picks up right where Biden left off. And only because Russia is defeating the collective West on the battlefield in this proxy war is the U.S. forced to try to find some way to salvage this or to pivot away from this or try to reassert itself in the midst of this. And that is all that we are seeing. And the U.S. establishment, the deep state, if you want to call it that, they used these right-left wedge issues to create an emotional response across the public, to get them to circle the wagons and protect their politicians, their side, regardless of whether, you know, they said they were going to do this, but they didn't. But at least it isn't those guys on the other side. This is the mindset that they have placed Americans in. And I hear that. I hear that from people who support President Trump. Yes, we didn't vote for this. Yes, he said he was gonna stop the war with Iran instead of making it worse and then eventually go off and fight it. But at least it's not Kamala. And this is the mindset that Americans are in. And this is how the U.S. maintains and manages continuity of agenda. This is how they get people to constantly go along with it. The hope that in 4 to 8 years, someone else will come in and change everything. They say they will. People vote for them. And then they have a long list of excuses why they can't. And at the end of the day, people accept those excuses because of how bad the alternative is to that. It's the perfect system of control. The U.S. has been working on it and perfecting it for years and years. And this is where we are. That's where we're at now.
And I want to bring up 2 points, and I really want your take on this. But the first one is about the Azerbaijani situation in that corridor. And I remember 2 Iranian officials saying that Iran is willing to go to war, strip of Armenia. And yet the United States is still involving herself in that area of the world to push Russia back. And this is close to the Caspian Sea and everything. So to me, America is making a big push to try to, on the one end, pretending that she wants to negotiate with Russia. And then on the other end, she is backdooring Soviet Russian territory. Where is this leading us in this corridor in Armenia? Because it looks like it's pushing towards more war with Iran and Russia.
Exactly, and this is one of the key pieces of evidence that you can look at and say to yourself, whatever the U.S. is saying to Russia about wanting peace, about how this was Biden's war, it's the Europeans and the Ukrainians who are in the way of peace. But it is the United States that continues to encircle and contain Russia along all of the points laid out in these policy papers. Armenia and Azerbaijan are part of the Caucasus region, and in the 2019 RAND Corporation paper extending Russia, they literally had a whole chapter dedicated to the Caucasus region and how to exploit division there to put additional pressure on Russia. But there's an added bonus. It's also very close to Iran, a nation the U.S. has already attacked under this current administration in the middle of peace negotiations. And so this is the evidence that you need to look at. People hear the rhetoric, they want to believe it, And they want to just ignore all of this other evidence to the contrary, that this is not really happening, that we're being lied to again. And people should just think about America's track record here. If you don't want to go back 100 years, if you went back 100 years, you would see a perfect track record. But let's just talk about the last 25 years. The track record the US has of actually making peace with Russia or China or Iran. They constantly use negotiations to give themselves space and time when they suffer setbacks, and then they go right back to encircling and containing. And people have to look at the fundamental reason why that is. The structural realities within the United States, the corporations, the financial institutions that actually drive foreign and domestic policy, if they have not changed, then American policy is not going to change, no matter what the politicians in Washington say or do to the contrary.
Are we there? Hold
Yeah, and there's also a really bad delay too, it seems. Can people still hear me? Maybe I'll try to keep the show going while Rashid. Doing live shows looks really easy. People out there, some people are really make it look effortless, but it's very difficult to do, especially by yourself. And then, I know this by, I haven't been in the United States for a long time, but I have family who are still in the United States, and they say that the internet connection, the telecom infrastructure is dreadful. So I don't know what the fix is for that. Setting up these live streams.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, great. Did you catch the last thing I said?
I'm here, Brian. And what it is this. First of all, let me tell it. I'm sorry. Well, Brian, can you hear me now?
Yes, but there's a delay.
Okay. Let me. Okay, there's a little delay. I want to explain to everybody what it is. Bad storm that took place the last 2 days, and it took down the internet services in certain parts of the town, and they're just getting some of them back up. And they said it'll be a few days. Mine was put back up, but I'm not at home. I'm at the Martial Arts Academy right here, teaching a class right now. And I'm in the closet area, so the reception is not so good. I didn't want to miss the show or whatever like that. And I want to just apologize. We're all martial artists. We all do a lot of martial arts, and I want to apologize to everybody for that. We have new equipment, new computers, everything. Matter of fact, we just got a new Apple computer come in that I'm using right now. For you guys. So it's not the equipment, it's the from the storm or whatever. I believe it is. So, but Brian, I want to go to something else. I want to say, and if I get cut off, that means I took myself out of the pro. Don't think that I'm missing everybody. It'll just take me a little time to get back on. I'll just get off. Very important because it's near and dear to you. It's close to you. And this is about the situation with Cambodia. We see America's lighting up. And what is China doing to combat the United States constantly with the Philippines, with Thailand, with everybody? She's doing a lot of lighting small fires around China while lighting small fires around Iran while trying to contain China. And all of this is intricate, interconnected. because of the debt burden. We see the desperation is setting in. So, what is your take on all of these things?
Yes, the border conflict between Thailand and Cambodia is another example of how the United States has no interest at all in peace. The United States, what it basically did is it targeted politicians on both sides of the border. They have influence over the current civilian government in Thailand. There are independent institutions opposed to the current government here in Thailand, Thai institutions that are opposed to the current US-backed government in power. And then the government of Cambodia, Hun Sen and his son, they have done a hard pivot from kind of working with China. People overstate the relationship between Cambodia and China quite a bit. Over the last year or so, they have hard pivoted back towards the United States. And even as the border conflict was still in the middle of fighting, the exchange of gunfire and artillery and rockets, they traveled, the Cambodian military traveled to the United States, to the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, to sign an agreement about closer military cooperation with the United States. And so what this is, and I warned about this a couple of months ago, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth was in Singapore. He told everyone in attendance, the United States has been distracted with war in Europe and the Middle East for decades. Now we're going to focus on Asia. And what does he mean by that? People aren't thinking what he means by that. He means all of the death and destruction we have been sowing everywhere else. Now we're going to put our full attention on Asia, and we're going to bring all of that death and destruction here. And that's what we see a manifestation of. Not that the U.S. hasn't been doing this in one way or another, but now this has become their priority. Between Secretary Hegseth in February and just a month or two ago in Singapore, he basically said, we need to dump the conflict in Ukraine onto Europe so that we can make a mess out of Asia. If we are going to stay the predominant nation on earth, a sole global superpower, which is the U.S. objective, regardless of political party, if we are going to do that, we have to stop and co-opt the rise of Asia. So that is what they are doing. And so there is no part of the story where this translates or turns into peace. It only continues as war. It is just the U.S. changing its priorities and reassigning responsibility to its vassals in one part of the world to deal with or freeze or put a pin into a conflict there so that the U.S. can create trouble elsewhere. Unfortunately, that is what we are going to see throughout the rest of the Trump administration and whoever takes over after him.
So I won't keep you long, Brian, on this program here today. I mean, like I said, I make it today, and I had to rush in to teach a class. For those of you who don't know, I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. I'm an instructor in the barred combat. I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm a blue belt in judo, and we fight mixed martial arts. Me, my daughter is awesome. My 19-year-old daughter is awesome, man. I'm telling you. And my son is too. My 21-year-old son. He's something to look at. I want to ask you this as we're closing out, because I want to bring you back when I'm able not to be in a closet and talking to you. Do you think all of this is taking us? Because the empire is moving at breakneck speed because the time is against it. As you and I constantly talk to each other, the time is against the empire, and we see the little small fires that she keeps lighting. We see the constant provocations, and we see the false bravado of the West and everything. Do you believe that they're preparing to strike Iran again? Do you believe that they are going to go this time? If they strike Iran, they're going to go full blast on Iran?
These type of things are impossible to tell, but we can look at the Middle East and we can see what the United States is already openly doing. They're erasing Gaza. They're maintaining that strategy of tension. They're creating regional, global outrage, which blinds people from being rational and objective and seeing what is really going on. At the same time they're erasing Gaza, they're very quietly trying to fully and completely dismantle Hezbollah. They are working to eliminate and further isolate Iran in the region. Of course, they're going to continue economically and politically subverting Iran, and they will continue looking for military operations to strike at and destroy Iran. The goal with Iran is not some sort of agreement. There is no disagreement or misunderstanding. The U.S. wants to eliminate the current political power in Iran. They always have for decades, since it came to power. And that is their objective, and they will not stop until they have achieved it. And it's going to be a matter of Iran and its allies frustrating these plans or succumbing to them. And you ask, where is this all going to head? It's the U.S. has already said they're going to pivot from Ukraine to the Asia-Pacific region, and they're going to focus on undermining and destroying China. And they're already doing it by creating strife all along its periphery between Thailand and Cambodia, a completely needless, pointless conflict that should never have taken place. Nobody cares about these temples enough to want to kill each other. The people on both sides, I mean, you're going to find brainwashed people on both sides, but the vast majority of people have no animosity towards one another. There are Cambodian people that live on the Thai side of the border. Thai people don't have any sort of innate hatred for them. There is no deep desire for conflict here. It was something that was artificially manufactured. And this isn't the end of it. The U.S. has already created and is maintaining an armed conflict inside of Myanmar. There are pressure points elsewhere here in Thailand, where I am based. And of course, the United States continues to build up the Philippines. It continues provoking China on its island province of Taiwan. I mean, there are U.S. troops on the island province of Taiwan. This is in internationally recognized Chinese territory. So this is not going to end. And people have to remind themselves, they have to look at history and remind themselves how all of this goes. They see the U.S. proxy war stumbling in Ukraine, and they think the empire is over. If you were alive during the Vietnam War and you saw the United States fleeing from the rooftop of their building there in Vietnam and pushing U.S. helicopters into the ocean because they were rushing and leaving in humiliation, you would have thought then that's the end of the American empire. But look at how much death and destruction the U.S. has still achieved since then, how it suffers these defeats, but it also comes back. It strikes back. The empire strikes back. It always does. And it's going to, again, they are putting the pieces into place to do it again. We will know that the US empire is truly coming to an end when all of its mechanisms of coercion are dismantled and neutralized. It is not just military power the US wields. It has economic power. It has the ability to politically interfere and even capture entire countries. And while the multipolar world is catching up in some of these areas, in other areas, they remain almost completely defenseless against. The ability for the US to take the National Endowment for Democracy and capture a targeted country is still such a potent superweapon. Russia and China, they can protect themselves, but they're having a very difficult time protecting their partners and allies. And until that changes, we cannot say with certainty that the U.S. empire may be in decline over the long term, but we cannot be sure that it is actually coming to an end until it is unable to wield any of these tools anywhere with any significant success. Right now, they're still dangerous, and we would be making a big mistake to underestimate them.
Okay.
I hear that cat.
Okay.
Are you still there, Rashid?
Reload.
Oh, we will. Yes, we will come back and do this again when Rashid's got all his internet problems settled. Let me see if I can maybe find a question or something. Well, we wait for Rashid to come back. We'll do a better full video once everything is straightened out, or maybe I can host him on my channel.
I'm still here. I'm still here, Brian. I just took myself that I could so that I can get a better thing. But yeah, and they were telling me it's time for another class, and so I was trying to pause it. Brian, I want to get you back on when I'm at home, and I have better reception and everything like that. Because this is choppy right now. And I just want to thank you and everybody. I thank you for your support, and thank you for what donations that you sent or whatever like that. I'm sorry I couldn't get them up. I'm at the bar training camp. But he kicks butt. His analysis is second to none on these issues. I want to give him his flowers on the air. I don't want to give them to him just behind closed. I want the world to know that the guy kicks butt and it's time consuming and he is always on point when he's giving you these his analysis. And some people may disagree with him, but I mean, you can't fight the facts of what the guy gives. Brian, man, thank you so much, man. I mean, you mean a lot to the alternative media. You mean a lot to the people who are looking at the situation that may understand and those who may not understand. And I know sometimes it's hard to get the credit from other people because it seems like they want the light shine on them. But at this moment right here, I want to shine a little light on you for the sacrifice that you make and for always being there. And I can call you up and say, hey, Brian, can I get you on the air? You'll say, hey, if I'm busy, as soon as I get free, I'll do it. Man, you kick butt, Brian. I want them to know just how bad behind, and I won't say the A word, how bad behind you are behind the scenes and how much you try to get the truth out to the people, man. I really appreciate you, Brian. And I'm not just talking about appreciating you for coming on the show. I'm talking about I really appreciate you and the effort and the work that you put into this thing, man.
Well, thank you, Rashid, and thank you for everything that you're doing to help get all of this information out. We all have to continue working together, and as soon as you're back at your place and your internet is running, I would be happy to do this again. I'm sure there's going to be major developments that take place that we're going to have to talk about here real soon anyway.
All right, I'll see you. Here I come. Tell them just work out, warm up first. I'm telling them to. I'm sorry, everybody. So listen, Brian, thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you shortly. Everybody, listen. I want you to be blessed and be safe. But let me go out the way I always go out before they take me off the air. Do right by others, not because there's some material gain in it for you or because there's some accolades behind it. Do right by others because it's the right, the humane, and the godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching you, remember that God Almighty is watching you. He may sit high, but he looks low, as my mom always say. And I want to say to you all, I love each and every one of you if you love truth. But know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true. But above all things, remember this, to stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're out of here. Peace.
Told you to walk away. was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your faith. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a